So now we're going to use our revenue that we have got for the possible allocations. If we have allocated 0, 1, 2, or 3 to store either 1, 2, or 3, we are going to use it in this computation for stage 2 and stage 3. So let's start with stage 2. So what this S2 is saying is talking about what is available in stage 2 in terms of how many gallons of milk is available in stage 2. So that is the state or the possible state. Then G2 is talking about what is your allocation. What is your allocation? That is what G2 is talking about. That is what G2 is talking about. Then your R2 of G2 is talking about if you have allocated this 0, what will be your rate of return which you have calculated previously. That's what we did. The calculation of the revenue depending on what you allocate for any of the stock. So you're just going to pick the result and put it in the table. Then don't forget, you remember it's a cumulative situation where in stage 2 is a combination of what? Stage 3 and what? Stage 2. So that means we need to go and check what is our we need to go and check what is the corresponding R3 into bracket G2 minus S2 into bracket S2 minus G2 R3. So we need to check what is our corresponding revenue depending on when you subtract your S2 minus G2. So we need to check it in our previous solution from stage 3. So I'm going to show you how to compute this. Then F2 now be the combination of your revenue for R2 of G2 plus R3 or R3 into bracket S2 minus what? G2. You see how to compute it. That will give you your final F2. Then from there, you're able to have your F2 star. I will show you how to get your F2 star. Then your G2 star will be the best allocation. So I'm going to show you how to obtain that. It's very simple. So let's look at it. So don't forget, at stage 2 we can have all these possible number of gallons of milk available. At stage 2 we can have 0 gallon of milk available, or 1 or 2, 3, depending on 4 or 5, and so on and so forth. So we need to analyze all those possible cases. So if 0 is available, then automatically you know that by default you need to allocate what? 0. And if you have allocated 0, we said R2 of 0, because if G2 is 0, so R2 of 0 because what? 0. So this 0 was available. So that means R2 of 0 is what? 0. Because remember we got R2 of 0 to be what? 0 when we did the return. If 0 was available, we allocate 0. So you get the revenue, expected revenue to be 0. Then you need to now analyze your R3 of S2 into bracket G2. So what you must do is, because we want to trace back what is our rate of return of S2 minus G2 in stage 3. So you need to go and find S2 minus G2, which at this stage is 0 minus 0. So because S2 minus G2 is 0 minus 0, so that means I need to go and check what is my corresponding value of R3 into bracket 0 minus 0, which is R3 of 0. And R3 of 0, remember we got it as what? 0. So that means this will be got what? 0. So to get your F2 is the MPV for the allocation of 2 and 3, because in stage 2 we are dealing with 2 and 3. So it means that you need to cumulate your return for stage 2 and return for stage 3, which you got from stage 3. And you need to add it together. So that will give you 0 plus 0, and that will give you what? 0. So I think it's very clear. So then from there, you need to check what is the best possible solution at this stage. You only have allocation of 0, so the best solution is still, the best revenue is still what? 0, because F2 star is talking about the best revenue. So the best revenue is still what? 0. And the best allocation at this state is, we have only 0 available and we can only allocate 0. So the best allocation is still what? To allocate 0, which is G2 must be equal to what? 0. Or G2 of 0, G2 must be equal to 0. So that is what you have here at this stage. So now we go ahead and go to the next possible number of gallons of milk that you have available. You can have also 1 gallon available. If 1 gallon is available, I can either decide to allocate either 0 gallon of milk or what? 1 gallon of milk. So that is why we have allocation, all the possible allocations. If 1 is available, I can allocate either 0 or 1. So I need to analyze all the possible options. So doing that, if I allocated 0 and 1 is available, if I allocated 0, what is my R2 of 0? Because that is the rate of return. If I've allocated 0, that will give me what? 0. Because if I've allocated 0, which is G2 is 0, if I allocate 0, that means R2 of 0 is what? 0, because that is what we thought when we did the revenue calculation for allocating 0 to store 2. So then from there, what is R3 of S2 minus G2? To get that, you need to find R3 of what is S2 at this state is 1, then G2 is what? 0. So that is R3 of what? 1 minus 0, that is R3 of 1. Then I need to go and check in my stage 3, what was my R3 of 1, which I've calculated. My R3 of 1, if you remember, it gave me what? $2, because I've calculated it. So that means this must be equal to what? 2. So if this is equal to 2, then to get your NPV for allocation for 2 and 3, when I stage 3, which is cumulating, store 2 and store 3, that will give you 0 plus what? 2, and that will give you what? 2. And based on this now, you are going to have what is the best allocation. Don't forget we have two possible options, so we cannot write the allocation now. We need to do the other option before we can know what is the best revenue. So we need to leave this now and leave this to be able to know the best revenue and the best allocation. So let's compute the second option. If 1 was available and I've allocated 1 gallon, that would have given me, if I've allocated 1 gallon, that would be R2 of 1, which I've calculated to be what? $2. So that will give me 2, and that means this will give me 2. Then from there, this will give me what? This will give me R3 of S2 minus G2. S2 is 1, then G2 is 1 for that state computation. So that means this will give me R3 of 1 minus 1, which is 0. R3 of 0, you remember, you check your state 3 result, it will give you what? R3 of 0 was what? 0. So you write it as 0, then 2 plus 0. This is also giving you what? 2. So that is the solution. So now, between these two possible options of either allocating, if you have 1 gallon available, should we allocate 0 or 1? You see that the best revenue you are still getting, which is S2 star, the best revenue you are still getting for option 1 is we have allocated 0. You got $2. For option 2, you got $2. So that means the best revenue is still what? 2. This is the same result. And that means your best allocation can either be, you can decide to allocate 0, or you can decide to allocate what? 1. Because either of the two give you the same total revenue. So that is the solution for that. So let's go to if 2 gallons of milk was available, and let's see how it works. So doing that, if 0 was available, if you have 2 gallons of milk available, you can either allocate 0, 1, or what? 2. And that's what you have here. So let's do the analysis. So if you allocate 0, the R2 of 0 gives you 0 based on our calculation previously. Then the R3 of, don't forget, S2 is what? 2, and the G2 at this computation was what? 0. So that is R3 of 2. So if you remember, your R3 of 2 was what? 3.4. We've calculated it as 3.4 in our stage 3, in our stage 1 computation for store 3. So we calculated it as what? 3.4. So that means this will give me 3.4, because R3 of 2 minus 0 is R3 of 2. So what is R3 of 2 is 3.4. So you write it down. Then now you add this to this, 0 minus this, and that will give you 3.4. Don't forget, you cannot do this until you do all the other options. So let's do the options. Finish the option 4 coming. However, if you have 2 available and allocate 1, I'm going to have R2 of 1, which is what? 2. R2 of 1 to R2 of 1, allocating 1. means that we got 2. Then then R3 of 2 minus 1, because now I'm having 2 minus 1, because I need to go and get what is the corresponding revenue in stage 3 for this allocation, because I'm completing stage 2 and stage 3. So that will give me R3 of 2 minus 1, and that is what we are trying to do here. So that will give me R3 of 1, and R3 of 1, if you remember, we got 2 as our solution in our stage 1 computation for store 3. So 2 plus 2 will give you what? 4. Then from there, you proceed and go and do the last option. If 2 was available and you allocate 2, what will it look like? If you allocate 2, then R2 of 2 will give you what? R2 of 2, remember we calculated R2 of 2. R2 of 2 gave us, because we have done the calculation previously, R2 of 2 gave us 3.25. If you remember, R2 of 2 gave us 3.25. So then what is our R3 of S2 minus G2? So you have 2 available, then you allocate 2. So you have the R3 of 2 minus 2, which is R3 of 0. So R3 of 0, you remember from stage 1 completion, which is store 3, R3 of 0 was what? 0. So you have 3.25 plus what? 0. So if you have that will give you 3.25. So out of all these revenue options based on the possible allocation, which of them is giving you the maximum revenue? Because our goal is to maximize the expected revenue cost. So the one that gives you the maximum revenue is this what? 4. So that means the best revenue is what? 4. So you write it out, and the allocation that gave you the best revenue was what? To allocate what? To allocate 1 gallon of what? Milk to store 2. So that means your G2 at this stage must be equal to what? 1. So that is how we do that. So I will do the same thing for this, for the next possible situation where if 3 gallon is available, I can either allocate either what? 0, 1, 2, or what? 3, take into consideration the demand information. So if I do that, also following the same analogy, if I've allocated 0, my R2 of 0 based on my previous computation is what? 0. Then my R3 of what is my S2 at this stage is 3. Then this is G2 is what? 0. So R3 of 3 minus 0, which is R3 of 3. Remember we calculated our R3 of 3, it gave us 4.3. R3 of 3 gave us 4.35. If you remember, that is what we got as our R3 of 3, it gave us 4.35. So based on this now, we can now add these together to get the cumulative allocation for 2 and 3. That's 0 plus 4.35, 4.35. Then from there, you have, you cannot compute this until you do all the other options. If you have allocated 1, if you allocate 1 here, and the 3 is available, for allocating 1, what is the revenue? For allocating 1 is store 2, that is R2 of 1, you have it as what? 2. So if this had been 1, this will give you R3 of 3 minus 1. This will give you, sorry, this is 3, sorry for that. So this will give you 3 minus 1, R3 of 3 minus 1, which will give you R3 of what? 2. So R3 of 2, remember our R3 of 2 gave us our R3 of 2. Our R3 of 2 gave us 3.4, which is 3.48. Our R3 of 2 gave us 3.4. So if you add these together, this will give you what? 5.4. So we do the next option. So if we do the next option following the same analogy, R2 of 2 will give you R2 of 2, because you are allocating 2 and 3 is available. R2 of 2 will give you, based on our calculation, 3.25. And if you say 3 minus 2, that is R3 of 3 minus 2, which is R3 of 1. And R3 of 1 gave us 2. R3 of 1 gave us 2. And if you do that, that will give you 5.25. Then let's do the last option there. So if you do if 3 is available, you allocate 3, and then R3 of 3, you remember R2 of 3, allocating 3 to store 2, which is R2 of 3, gives you 4.35. That gives you 4.35. Then that means the R3 of 3 minus 3, plus 3 minus 3, R3 of 3 minus 3, that is R3 of 0. And the R3 of 0 from my stage 1 computation is what? 0. So 4.35 plus 0, that will give you what? 4.35. So based on this, now you need to check which of these revenue give you the highest, because we want to maximize the expected revenue. The highest revenue was what? 5.40. So you need to write the 5.40 down. And the allocation that gave you that best revenue was what? To allocate what? 1 gallon of milk. To allocate 1 gallon of milk, which is also saying G2. G2 must be equal to what? So maybe we can just say it as G2 must be equal to 1 at this stage. G2 must be equal to 1 at this stage of 3 gallons of milk being available. So I think I would wipe the board off to finalize the remaining option under the stage 2. I'll wipe the board now.